Why would Woody Harrelson do this film? I don't know if he knew what he was trying to do.
We review it Wednesday.
White men can't jump, and Woody Harrelson proves it again.
You got that right.
I went into this like it's going to be a feel-good, sports movie, old school Hoosiers, feel good.
I was thinking The Ringer with Johnny Knoxville. That's why
I haven't seen it.
Oh, gosh.
Johnny Knoxville, I'm not a fan.
Okay.
I don't think he's any good.
Well, I really enjoyed that movie.
Okay.
But, so that movie is about him faking to go into the Special Olympics. So not necessarily all feel good.
Does he need to fake it?
Well, probably not at this point. So I was thinking that similar type of humor because Woody Harrelson is also usually more comedy.
Yes. But sex jokes?
Yeah. Drunk lawyer jokes?
Yeah. It was different than what I expected.
The first 20 minutes I thought was absolutely awful.
Okay, I'm with you on that.
That's
exactly what I said too.
I really hope this turns around once he actually starts interacting with the kids, because everything beforehand of the drunk lawyer, the drunken while driving, the whole thing was just not done well.
Right. While it was shot in Winnipeg, they did, want to make it look
Olympics
like it was. What's that?
That's where the Special Olympics were.
Are they?
Well, no, that's where they were in this.
No.
Yeah.
So it made it. Yeah. Made it easy, but the thing though that they needed to make it look like it was in Des Moines, Iowa, because Des Moines, Iowa, they get snow.
Right.
And so they, did it in the freezing cold up in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it makes sense.
It does make sense.
Otherwise, it probably wouldn't look the same.
No, and they got the nice flat.
Right. As soon as you see snow, you're thinking
Midwest.
Yeah. Upper Midwest for sure. But, this was a knockoff of a French film, I think it was.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Some European film anyway.
Interesting.
I don't know how that success was, but this didn't even do 20 million in the box office.
No, it did not do well.
No. And so it's on free streaming just a few months later and all that kind of stuff. But we've always said we're gonna do things like this just because we can.
Yeah, we sure can.
And Woody Harrelson's in it, Ernie Hudson, and you think it's gonna be Cheech Marin. I mean, you think this is going to be good.
You got some quality actors in.
But it was just, it wasn't good. It had moments.
It did.
It had moments.
And I will say, I definitely, by the end of it, was like, well, this wasn't that bad of a film. But if I could have easily just stopped it after 10 minutes and not even known what the whole second half, because it was that bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you really got to persevere. But yeah, there was a lot of weird sex jokes. There was a lot of just interesting jokes that I didn't really understand.
Yeah, plenty of barf jokes, I think, and just gross. I mean, they obviously had the vomit barf on the bus.
Oh gosh, that was disgusting.
I don't know how necessary some of that stuff was. I don't know what they were going for. It wasn't very congruent from start to finish.
Yeah, and it was weird because they made the joke too when they were first here on the bus that Woody wasn't going to get any other assistance on that trip, and to me that seemed
unlikely.
In a real scenario, you would need some sort of help to be able to rein in the kids, assistant coaches or whatever. Especially because it seemed like if they have the opportunity to go to the Special Olympics, that's a decent program no matter what. You're going to have an assistant coach of some sort that would be able to come with, if not Julio, who is helping with the transition.
But there was no, budget. They made a point of that over and over again and things, I guess. But whatever. It's just interesting.
Yeah.
How they, what was, Bobby Farrelly of the Farrelly brothers did this, and I guess, on his own, obviously.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if he knew what he was trying to do, is the sense that I got. But, you take the plot of the film and, this hot-headed
coach.
Assistant coach know-it-all.
Yeah.
It's got to be his way, and he butts heads with the head coach, of course, and he gets thrown out and whatever, and fired, obviously, for doing that. But the thing that I thought was most interesting that they did a really good job with was he was told right at the beginning, you're not a good people person.
Right.
And then at the end, that's how they pulled it together.
Yeah, it was.
So
there was at least that storyline.
That felt good.
Yeah.
Very predictable.
Yeah.
But it felt good.
Yeah.
But the biggest question I have before we start rating it.
Okay.
Why would Woody Harrelson do this film? I'm not kidding. Like, I don't know the answer. That's a real question.
But he's not been in a ton recently.
Sure,
is he
but
just trying to pick up whatever he can?
But is that wise for... He was just on SNL.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still out there.
He is.
I guess is my point. But, like, does he have other problems?
Right.
I don't know. Have you heard? You haven't heard
I haven't
anything?
heard much.
Yeah, okay.
Of why he got into this one specifically. But, I mean, maybe it was he got tailed into what the feel-good story was, and it just wasn't put well together or as well as he had hoped it had.
Yeah.
Because I think, again, this movie could have been a lot better if they would have fixed up some portions of it and made it more congruent.
If they would have just made it a PG,
yeah,
I think it would have done a lot better.
Right.
Because
they would have had to work around hurdles that would have saved it.
So
I did like the part where they were like, the lady was yelling at the ref, and he said, "Oh no, they're able to do that," and then she apologizes to the ref. No, they did. That's what they're out there for, is to get yelled at.
Yeah.
It was an interesting cast. I liked when they were with the kids. Like, I didn't necessarily like the jokes, but I did like it when the kids were involved. And then I remember there was that one scene where he walked out, and you got to really introduce and see all the different quirks and what the kids were doing on a day-to-day life outside of the basketball. And so I thought that was done really well. Overall storyline, Kaitlin and Woody, or Alex and Marcus, had a weird relationship. I didn't really fully understand that. They could have smoothed that out. There wasn't a lot of chemistry there to me. It felt forced.
Was that on purpose?
I don't know.
Yeah, I know. That's the point I was going to bring up. So it's a good time to do it, I think.
Because
was that on purpose? Like, I don't know. I couldn't figure that out either.
It must have been, because the whole relationship dynamic was, this is not going to last long term.
Right.
And then the last 20-minute film of course it mattered. I want to be with you. You had an impact on these kids. And so they should have done that transition better than what they did. But they didn't give enough time for it.
No, and it was obvious that's what was going to happen.
Right. So they could have easily turned around halfway through the film of like, oh yeah, let's make this connected. Because then they had the weird tiff with the kid of like, oh, like, what do you mean you're not going to be staying around? Or like, why aren't you with her? I'm not an idiot. I know what you guys were doing.
Right.
And it's like, that was really forced, which really caused some kinks into that game and really staying connected with the film. So I gave it a 3-4.
Okay.
There's a lot of things I wished would have been better, and it just wasn't there.
When I looked at what this film, what it was, who was in it, kind of the plot, it made sense.
Yeah.
From on paper.
Yeah.
Right? And I made the mistake of looking at it doesn't have a budget. I couldn't find a budget readily.
Which is so weird.
Right. And then I saw what it did in the box office. I'm like, not good.
Nope.
So I went into it. I try not to do that, as you know. I'm doing it more and more.
Yeah.
More and more research, beforehand.
Right.
I think that's a mistake still.
Yeah.
However, if you go into it researching it, you hope that the movie does a good job of redeeming itself.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like,
especially if it's a bad movie. I think if you do your research on a bad movie, hopefully the only thing that can happen is that it does better than those expectations.
Yes.
Versus like you go with like, I remember the first time I saw Frozen. It had been a decent few months since that movie had come out, and so there was a huge hype train, as anyone who was around when that movie came out, of like, this is the best movie ever. It has fantastic movie. I love the characters. Like, it's just so good. Even like, I mean, when did it come out? I don't even know. It was a time either I was in high school or in college. I think it was college.
It would have been college, I think.
Been fantastic. And I was like, all right. And then I remember the first time I'm watching it, I was like, well, I really don't think it's that great. But that's more so because of, again, I had the hype, this is what's great about it. This is why you'll enjoy it. And it's like, well, it didn't hit all those marks. And so now I'm kind of disappointed of what my expectations were.
Yeah. So when I watched it, I agree. The 20 minutes thing, it was rough.
Yeah.
I mean, it was rough.
It was awful.
And then there was a couple scenes that kind of turned it for me. But with that that actor lineup, I really expected it to be better. I really liked that they did hire special needs actors.
Yeah.
As I think they worded it,
right.
A marginalized character should be played by a marginalized actor. And I think that was fantastic because there was a lot of things that were natural.
Yeah.
Rather than like forced.
Yeah.
Too much. And so that was great. But overall, with the cast that they had, I don't know the kind of timeline that they had to do this, but I didn't even get into the 3s.
Okay.
I'm a 2.9. I think that this kind of level should have been better.
Yeah.
I mean, this kind of Ernie Hudson. I mean,
yeah.
I get that you want to do movies like this, but make them
execute them
good.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't do a good job, in my opinion.
No.
Himself and Woody Harrelson especially.
Well, Ernie barely had any screen time.
The screen time he did have, though, was awful.
It was not great.
In my opinion. I think he did better in Ghostbusters, and I think he was terrible in Ghostbusters. The original.
Yeah,
I mean, he wasn't any good in Ghostbusters, the original. Yeah, the original.
The original, right? Yeah.
That's where he was really introduced.
Yeah.
I just didn't think he was very good in that, but he was okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's where I'm at.
Well, they didn't do much in this film. These films are always a little hard for me to grade on what cinematography is.
What it is? Do you want a definition?
Can you put on a T-shirt? Actually,
we should.
It would have been interesting. This movie could have been done more of a docu-series too.
Yeah.
I think that would have. There's a lot of films that aren't real, but they do documentary style, and I think this movie would have been really done well and been more enjoyable in that aspect because they did the guy with the earmuffs. I don't watch ESPN at all, but the bald guy.
Yeah.
So they did shots to him of like, oh, do you remember this guy? So they brought back to him. So it would have been interesting to do more of those with the flashbacks to see where they've come. So, I mean, I wasn't overly impressed with how they did cinematography, but I wasn't also like super underwhelmed. So I just gave it like a 3-2.
Okay. So one of the things I did like, I'll start with the positive.
Let's do it.
Was that it did look pretty natural.
Yeah.
It wasn't one of those things that it was, I think that where they shot some of these, they were probably real places.
Yeah.
A lot of it looked that way to me. Not saying it was.
Right.
But it did look that way.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Yep.
So that's a real big positive for me. It looked like a real gym that, was an older, low-budget gym.
Yeah.
The neighborhoods looked real. I'm sure they were.
They didn't need to have many set places either, which was probably real nice for them because they probably had 2 courts. Maybe they could have redone and a few houses.
Yeah, yeah. So that was really nice. I like that. I thought they did a good job of making when it was night to look like night, when it was daytime, with the exception of a couple of scenes and things. And I pointed it out at the time watching it. I was like, it's supposed to be night.
But
and there was light coming in, the windows and stuff. I'm like, the street lights aren't that bright.
Yeah, that's right.
So there was a couple mistakes there, which is whatever. But anyway, so with that and with the natural look of a lot of the things, some of the camera work I did kind of like. I don't like the movement camera, but they did a little bit of the movement in some of this tastefully, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so I did enjoy that. So I'm actually a 3-1. I didn't quite get it that high. I won't go down the negatives.
Yeah.
Some of the obvious things were should have really been caught.
Yeah.
And like the night.
This is like really they had a weekend and they just did it over the weekend.
Yeah.
Because that's really how it feels with some of these. We were talking about Hallmark films with the Christmases, and those are like, we got 2 days, we got to get this shot and rolled out so we can get on the next one. And really, this really could have been very similar to what they do in those films.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't look up the editor of who edited it. Not that it matters, I guess, but then you can kind of look at what other work they did.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting. Some just real simple things, in my opinion, they missed. So there it is. I'll never probably watch it again.
No. I watched this 1.5 times because Megan. So I started watching. I was like, I don't know if Megan will like this, just because like she's very sensitive to people, and which I really appreciate about her. So when it comes to when it comes to special needs, it can be done tastefully. It can be done not tastefully. And so I didn't know how that was going to play out. And so she got home when the movie was about halfway through. And was like, "Oh, would you mind starting it over?" And I'm like, I guess. So,
no, honey.
No. I told her it doesn't really start until 20 minutes into the film.
Let's start there.
That's right. I'll give you a quick flashback of what happened, and here we are. So I ended up watching it like 1.5 times, and but I probably won't watch it again either.
Yeah. I won't not watch it again on, if it's on or something, someone else wants to watch it, I guess I would probably watch it again.
Yeah.
It's about a 2-hour movie.
Yep.
I think that as far as if they wanted to make this entertaining, they could have wrapped it up in 90 minutes.
Yep.
I think they should have, personally. Well, if you just got rid of the first 20 minutes.
Problem solved.
Or at least made it a 5-minute summary.
Yeah.
You're in good shape then. But, it's one of those things that I wasn't not entertained either.
Right.
So I can't say that it was like awful. If I were to say, it didn't get a failing grade.
Right.
It's probably a D+, maybe a C.
So 3.4?
So I'd say a 3.4 sounds good. I was going to give it a 3.2, but...
Well, you go on your D plus C.
Yeah, that would make sense.
That's what the math tells me.
Good point.
And we all know I'm a logistical person. Let's get down to the numbers, brass tacks. There was, like you said, there was a lot of times. There was moments in which it was good, and there were times where I laughed. There was time where, like, the whole mouse scene where it was like, oh, you gotta get clean. Like, there were some heartfelt moments of like, I wish there was more parts of like this where you can see the human connection versus unnecessary jokes that ended up happening, or unnecessary plots, or unnecessary transition. I gave it a 3.3.
Okay.
It was entertaining. Could have been a lot better. But if it's on, I won't necessarily change the channel if I know somebody else is watching it.
Yeah. Cool. What else you got? Anything?
I got nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing?
You're going to get something in a second, if you remember. But I'll go first.
Good.
We're back.
Oh, yeah.
We're both wearing black.
Oh,
We're both wearing Star Wars.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but you should comment and tell us what you think of the champions, not the champions. Champions, let us know in the comments below, or you can also
email us. Well, that got really loud. You might want to
bring it down a notch.
Yeah, just bring it down, but still get the hype up. And you can send email to us at LegitQ@Manny'sMovieMix.com.
He nails it, folks.